Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, welcome on in to the Dynasty Land football stream. It is the 23rd of June where I am at. It's the 22nd of June where you guys are at. Monday night for you, Tuesday morning for me. I'm excited to be here with you. Every Monday so far of the offseason, we have had real Dynasty startup drafts. However, we're now going to go to every other week. So this time next week, we'll have a real startup draft with the Kronos League. But tonight, I would love for you guys to come join me in a Dynasty startup mock draft. All right, we've got some trade questions to look at on the site. We've got some team reviews to do. Let me know who I'm hanging out with here in the chat as well. Going to be a fun time with y'all tonight. And then we will have some best ball drafts as well on the Fantasyland football channel. What's up, Pablo? What's up, Wyatt in the building? What's up, Jonah? What's up, Styles? Mike is here. Chase says right on time. That's right, sir. What's up, Sparrow in the building? What's up, DB in the building? Good to see you guys. Good to see you. Again, would love for you guys to get into this mock draft with me. If you haven't done a mock draft yet on the Flock site, pretty simple. All you have to do is make an account. flockfantasy.com/land, use the code LAND, create a free account, and you can jump into any of these mock drafts with us at any present moment in time. Let's go ahead and send this out. I'm going to send this one directly into the YouTube chat tonight. So I just want you guys to be able to join me straight away. Tomorrow night, we've got the NBA draft. I'm excited about that. What about y'all? Anybody out there an NBA draft guy? Anybody out there excited to see what their GMs got cooking up? And Sam Presti, we trust, is what I will say. And Sam Presti, we trust. We've got one spot remaining here, and it looks like we are going to fill up. You know, it's we've done a lot of real drafts, obviously, over on landleagues.com. We've got a lot of really good ADP, but it is fun every once in a while to jump into a mock draft, you know? I think I've been wanting to get into one here for quite some time. So this is a 12-team. We're going to do a super flex start 10. This will be start 3 receivers as well. So let's go ahead and get this thing popping here. Thanks for joining me, gang, as Wags is on the clock here. 30 seconds on the clock, by the way. What's up, Scribbles in the building? I have been watching the World Cup as much as I can, for sure. USA versus Australia was awesome because I got to talk trash to all of my Australian friends here. But obviously the US going through is fantastic. I've been watching more of the highlights back. I've not been able to catch as many games. Like, for example, the USA and Australia game started at like 5 a.m. my time, so I just rewatched it on the stream. But the Curacao draw with Ecuador was crazy. There's been a lot of weird outcomes this cycle, you know? I mean, Canada 6-0 on Qatar. I think back to, like, some of these teams getting their first ever World Cup win. It's exciting times, man. The World Cup, there's a reason it's the most watched event in mankind. What's up, Styles? He says, call your shot. Where is Giannis getting traded to? It's a good question. I think he's going to be a Miami Heat. I think they have a very attractive package that they can offer him. I think the best landing spot for him is probably the Celtics, but I think if I had to make a bet, I would say he's going to go to the Miami Heat. And I would be really surprised if that trade doesn't happen before the draft tomorrow night. What's up, 30 Vonge? Welcome in. Tiny Goose. Style says, I'm going to set to Zach's ranking so I can snipe you. Damn it. Cape Verde, yeah, also looked pretty good. Yeah. Okay, so through the first 6 picks, we've got 2 quarterbacks. Josh Allen at the 103. Drake May at the 106. Then we've got Gibbs and Bijan in that top 6 as well. No surprise, we typically see those running backs in the first 4 picks. Chase, Jason, and Puka. So I think it's safe to say that for most people, they're like tier 1 assets are off the board here. Right, like Gibbs and Bijan are those tier 1 running backs. The big 3 at receiver is probably Chase, Jason, and Puka. But I'm getting really excited for the redraft season. Definitely dropped a video on the Fantasyland Football channel today that I think you guys would be pretty interested in. I know a lot of you guys love data, you love research. Well, I went into today's video. Running backs are king again in fantasy, and here's why. I did a lot of research for that video. I would highly encourage you to go watch it because I'm going to go ahead and grab Amon-Ra St. Brown here at the 12 spot. But if you want to understand why, I have my theory at least. If you want to understand why NFL trends are changing, why running backs are becoming more and more stable in fantasy and dynasty versus receivers not having as much, of that stability, definitely go watch that video. I'm pretty proud of it. I know it was going to be unique, on the Fantasyland Football channel. There's not as much strategy. There's a lot more player takes, but I think that video is definitely well worth your watch. After I take Amon-Ra St. Brown, Malik Neighbors off the board, then Lamar Jackson, Jeremiah Love, and I'm going to be on the clock here very soon. Very nice. We didn't set, let's just say a 0.5 tight end premium here, by the way. Nothing too crazy, as Bowers is the pick at the 202. Yeah, we don't have a strong opinion on this next selection, to be honest with you guys. But I'm going to go ahead and grab Amarion Hampton here in the second round. We'll start wide receiver running back there with Amon-Ra and Omarion. Guys, appreciate y'all being here with me. Hey, just a heads up, I'm going to do a giveaway today. I will give away one live team playbook just for you guys kind of being here, hanging out, showing some love. So if you want a chance to win one of these live team playbooks, you'll see people getting them all the time, getting their team reviewed. Then best way to go about entering is step 1, like the stream. And step 2 is to type the code word, which for today is Kronos. That's because we've got a real Dynasty Startup Draft happening this time next week in the Kronos League. I can tell you right now, there are 5 spots remaining in that league, so over half that league is already filled. But if you haven't gone out there yet and, become an annual Mother Flock member with the code LAND, that is going to give you a guaranteed spot into a LAN league. So definitely, if you haven't, done so yet, consider becoming a LAN member annually with the Mother Flocker package. Like I said, we are going to be doing a real draft this time next week in the Kronos League. And you also see the Ryan Leaf League there. That's because over on the Fantasyland Football channel, not tomorrow, but the day after, I'm going to be doing a real best ball draft with our community as well. If you are an annual member, you can enter both the redraft and the Dynasty drafts. So keep that in mind. If you haven't entered the Ryan Leaf drawing, definitely do so. I will be doing that drawing offline tomorrow, and then I will put it in the Discord. If you guys don't know, over on our Discord, under the LAN tab, when you become a member and you sync up your Discord to the Flock Fantasy site, you're going to unlock a couple Discord exclusives. But one of those channels that you're going to unlock is the LAN Leagues channel, where I put out information about different leagues that are dropping, the best ball, the Kronos. Sometimes we'll do drawings there in the LAN Leagues tab. So make sure you have connected your Discord on Flock Fantasy. But after I took Amarion Hampton, we did see Caleb Williams coming off the board at the 204, Trey McBride at the 205, then Jefferson London before Lamb. I was thinking that we were going to start seeing this a little bit more often, where London goes ahead of Lamb. On a points per game basis, I wouldn't be shocked if either outscored the other. And obviously we know Drake London's coming off this huge contract extension he just signed. I wonder how often he's gone ahead of Lamb this offseason in real drafts. So Lamb's been the pick 86% of real drafts this year. But post NFL draft, you can see the split between them in real ADP is a lot closer than it was before the NFL draft. We get Burrow at the 208, Achane at the 210, Loveland at the 212, along with Tetero McMillan, Tate, Pickens, Dart, and Wilson. Not a bad start so far. Scribble says, Zach, you're going to get no sleep with all these weird times this year in the NFL. Yeah. What are the weird games? I know there are some strange ones. I mean, I'll be at the first game in Sydney, Australia, so I'm kind of chilling there. But Giannis to the Lakers for DeAndre Ayton. I think the Bucks would pay to not get DeAndre Ayton back, to be honest. Wyatt, come on. Be for real, though. Okay, hold on. Are there any Celtics fans in the chat? Are you being for real saying that you don't want Giannis in Boston? I mean, that sounds a little wild to me. I mean, I'm a Thunder fan. I don't think we should trade anybody, but if we landed Giannis, I would make an exception. Okay. We've got James Cook. We've got Chris Olave available. I'll grab my first quarterback in Justin Herbert here at the 310. We'll link up Herbert and Hampton with our second and third round pick there. Was hoping Jalen Hurts would keep falling to me. I like Seabro's start there at the 7 spot. But Wyatt says we'd have to give up JB, and I'm not doing that. Man, I just think Giannis is... I get like... I don't know. I don't even know if like long-term is the right answer there. Like, I understand Jaylen Brown's younger, but I just think your team with Giannis gives you a much better shot to win in the next, 3 years than Jaylen Brown does. No disrespect to him. Also, I just don't like Jaylen Brown's vibe. I don't like the way that guy operates. Like, just when he loses a game, going to Twitch to cry about it. Like, what are we doing, man? I'm sorry. I just don't like that mindset, but I'm not trying to be a hater. After Purdy, we do get Olave and James Cook off the board. I like the Purdy pick from Styles there. I was actually hoping to double tap quarterback if it was Purdy and Justin Herbert available in the 3rd and 4th, but alas, that is not the case. We still have some great picks available to us. Luther Burden coming off the board here. Man, I just feel like Trevor Lawrence and Bo Nix are too enticing not to draft here in the 4th round. So I'll double tap quarterback. Won't play the what quarterbacks will be available to me later on type of game. And we start our draft with 2 quarterbacks and anchoring our running back and wide receiver positions with Amon-Ra and Amarian Hampton. Chase, what's up, man? He says, do you play fantasy basketball or is that too much? I did play fantasy basketball 1 year, but it was just like way too much to keep up with, to be honest with you. And I mean, transparently, unless it's the playoffs, I'm just watching every single Thunder game anyway. So it probably would make me watch more basketball, but my wife would hate me more. So I probably shouldn't watch more basketball because I've already for the last like 10 years watched every single Thunder game of every season. So I think my wife would kill me if I decided to watch more basketball than I already do. We get a nice little run of receivers here with McConkey, Collins, Tyson. I will say, like, I am becoming much more comfortable with Nico Collins this year. He is 27. He is still going to lose value each and every year as an asset. But I was a little bit concerned about the trade rumors, and I was concerned about the fact that they had an out on his contract next offseason. But they've already guaranteed that money for Nico Collins. So there's not really an out for him next year anymore like there was previously. There was an out that they could have saved a lot of money on, but now it's all guaranteed. So I'm now more comfortable with him being, one of these 4th round picks for sure. Again, guys, appreciate y'all being here with us. I am doing a giveaway today for a live team playbook. If you would like to enter to win a live team playbook, the steps are very simple. Step 1 is to like the stream, okay? And step 2 is to type our code word of the day, which is Kronos, okay? Kronos. I had to think there for a second. Now Nice little run of running backs here in the fourth with Chase Brown, Ken Walker. Man, Ken Walker is such a steal there. I really think Ken Walker and Taylor Cook should be valued pretty much quite similarly. In fact, if I wasn't going to go Lawrence at the 403, I probably would have gone Walker. I just felt like Lawrence was such a value there. So Wags waits to get running back or quarterback until round 4, but he double taps it with Dak and Jared Goff, which is interesting to see. Yeah. How do I feel about Chet Holmgren? I think Chet Holmgren is getting, obviously I'm a Thunder fan, so there will be bias here, but I think he's getting a lot of unwarranted hate. You know, you can say two things are true at the same time. You can say that the Thunder are not the Thunder without Chet Holmgren. He's an incredible defender. If Wemby wasn't in the league, I think people would have a lot more respect for him. Second in Defensive Player of the Year. There's a reason that when he joined the team, our defensive numbers go through the roof. Our win percentage goes through the roof. You can say he's super valuable to the Thunder. You can say he's going to get better each and every year as a really young player. And you can also say that he was absolutely dominated against Wemby in that series. Like, there's no doubt about it. All right, a lot of the flaws in his game, which every player has flaws in their game, a lot of the flaws in his game were absolutely showcased against Wemby in the Western Conference Finals. He did not play himself. He looked completely out of sorts. He looked scared. It looked like a mental thing. But if I know anything about Chet Holmgren from the little that I've been able to watch him on my team, it's that nobody's going to outwork him. Like, for real. This dude broke his hip in 2025. He broke his freaking hip and then came back and was a crucial piece to us winning an NBA championship. Like, how many NBA players are going to break their hip and in the same year still contribute to a championship? Like, it's just ridiculous, his work ethic. So I would expect him to put on a little bit of weight. I would expect him to continue improving his game, but I think the hate is a little bit too drastic, in my opinion. But obviously, like, I'm going to back my guy no matter what. I just think the hate's a little too crazy. I'll take Zay Flowers there at the 5'10". Styles says, I think the Chet hate got replaced with Wemby and Fox hate. You know, it's so funny you say that because as a Thunder fan, you know, obviously everyone's going to have their opinions. I thought the narrative around them this year was super silly. I've always thought the narrative around them was quite silly. But it was so funny how everyone, like, as soon as the Thunder lost, like, every account's like, Hitler's dead. You know, that meme, and, like, everyone's like, we've defeated the bad guys. And me as a Thunder fan, watching the Spurs the entire series, I thought, man, no one's really watching this series with reasonable eyes, are they? Because the world is about to see the Spurs. All right, they're about to see if they think we're dirty. No disrespect to San Antonio fans. I love y'all. But I don't think the Spurs are dirty. I don't think the Thunder are dirty. I think people are just soft nowadays. But social media going after the Thunder, I thought it was hilarious because as soon as we lost, I was like, you know what, Spurs fans, you better be ready to get some hate because it is coming. And it did not take long. In fact, it was a lot quicker than I even anticipated myself. That hate pouring in. I'll take Jadarian Price here at the 603. That makes him the 106. I think Mendoza's the 105 in rookie drafts. So yeah, it was kind of fun to see how quickly that hate transferred from us to them. Yeah, I've seen that, Spides. Tate does seem to be going a bit higher than he does in real drafts. I love me some Carnell Tate. I'm a big Carnell Tate guy. I like to see him getting some respect. Yeah, I agree, Scribbles. Fantasy basketball is a little too much for me to keep up with. Fox has been getting roasted. Yeah, rightfully so. Shout out to New York fans, man. What an awesome finals for you guys. Devin Vassell is great. I mean, Devin Vassell, I think, like, I remember as a Thunder fan when we lost to the Mavs in 2024, PJ Washington was like our kryptonite. I feel like that's Devin Vassell for us now. I feel like he's like the one guy who's just like a little bit rent-free in our heads. But I'm excited to see the team hopefully fully healthy next year and have another run at it. Skylar asked a question to the chat. He says, is Roma Dunze worth a late 27 first given the foot injury? Let's ask the chat here. Let's see what the chat has to say about it. After I took Jadarian Price, we get Javonte Williams, Bucky Irving, Baker, and Cam Ward, along with Saquon, Marvin, Scat, Kyron, Waddle, Etienne, Stroud, Kraft. I will say that these quarterbacks are going much higher in this mock draft than we've seen in real drafts this year. So that's been interesting to kind of see develop. I don't know what the rhyme or reason is behind that, between like a real draft versus a mock draft. Maybe someone might have some better insight on that than I do, but we're definitely seeing quarterbacks, like the mid quarterbacks, going higher. But Kraft and Fan in the 7th round are great values. Look, I'll just say my piece on Roma Dunze. I don't think Roma Dunze is a buy. I don't think he's a sell. I think he's a strong hold. Now, I sold him in a league where I got back a George Pickens package. I sold him in a league where I got back a Mecca Egbuka. I still have a share of him. The comments are a little concerning. Even if you're the biggest Roma Dunze guy in the world, you have to recognize that, like, it's not awesome to hear him talk about his foot injury. You know, I mean, you'd be lying to yourself. You're like, oh, I'm completely fine with it. It's cool to hear, actually. But I don't think it's going to be the end of his career. You know, a lot of you have heard me talk about how Allen Robinson mentioned that he had this injury earlier on in his career and had no issues. But he also had the same injury in year 9, and that was the year he went to the Rams, and it completely destroyed the rest of his career. Great pick with Jacobs there. So I'm just cautious with him right now. Where did he go in this draft? Roma Dunze went where? At the 503. I think that's fair. You know, that doesn't seem too drastic. If I'm on a contender, would I be willing to send my late first for Roma Dunze as like my last flex? I think that's a fair shot to take. You know, that doesn't seem unreasonable to me in any way, shape, or form. Let me make my pick here before I keep commenting, but I'll take DJ Moore here in the 7th as my wide receiver 3. And this is a great point from Scribbles. He said he's practicing full in June. Yeah. So the thing is, it would be far more concerning if we were hearing reports like Roma Dunze injury is popping up again. He's just managing the foot injury. And then we had those comments, right? That would be more concerning if he was like a limited or, you know, but the fact that he's a full participant and it doesn't seem to be, you know, a devastating thing he's working through, as I'll take Jordan Addison here, that does make me more comfortable with the idea of him just kind of playing through it. Now, the whole idea that there are people out there who are like, oh, it's not a big deal. You know, we've seen this before and this is normal. Like, well, no, I'm not going to say it's abnormal, but it's certainly not normal to hear someone say that the structure of their foot is changing. You know, like that isn't exactly normal to hear either. So, as I say many times with you guys, I am as transparent as I can possibly be. I really don't like it when people are like, I know exactly what's going to happen. So, I will say this, that I don't think I see a pathway for Odunze to ever be like a top 8 dynasty receiver. I absolutely think he can hover around the T. Higgins range for the most of his career, right? Like, I think that's, if you look at T. Higgins' career, I think that's a good range of outcome that you would be happy with at this point with Rome Odunze. You know, if he was to ever finish like as a top 8 dynasty receiver in a year, I mean, he would just have to be like clearly the best weapon in Chicago. And while I love him as a prospect, at this point, I don't think I could confidently say he's, you know, an alpha over the Lovelands or the Burdens in that offense. But yeah, I mean, I do think T. Higgins is a pretty fair like career comp for what we might expect from him for the rest of his career. But yeah, be curious to hear where you guys sit, because that's kind of where I'm at this present moment in time. You know, when you originally drafted him in his rookie draft, you had not expectations, but you had like this idea, like maybe Rome Odunze, because he's such a good prospect and the draft capital, maybe he'll be a top 5 dynasty receiver at some point and be a dominant player. I don't know. We also, like, the monkey in the room here a little bit, or the elephant in the room here, whatever you want to say. What's the way to say that? Is Caleb Williams has got to improve his completion percentage, man. He has got to be a more effective passer. I mean, while he took all these steps up in fantasy and was a better player last year under Ben Johnson, his 62.5% completion percentage dropped to 58%. And is that the chicken or the egg? Is that on Odunze? Is that on Caleb? Is it on the other pass catchers? But, I mean, that certainly, like, if Odunze is going to be one of these players like T. Higgins where you're not going to get 9 targets a game, maybe it's more 6 to 7 targets per game, you've got to convert on those opportunities at a higher rate, you know. But the chat did vote here, and 67% voted that they would prefer Rome Odunze over a late 27 first, which I think is fair. Scribble says, we all thought he was an alpha 6 weeks into the year last year. I'm not going to put a ceiling on him. I hear you, Scribbles, but I think what you're failing to also mention there is that was the first 6 weeks of rookies like Colston Loveland, Luther Burden, right? So I hear what you're saying, and I'll grant that. But I also think we have to recognize that Loveland was being slow played big time. Luther Burden was being slow played big time. Those guys are far more a part of the game plan inherently now than they were in the first 6 weeks when Odunze was dominating. But again, like, I just don't think there is a top 8 dynasty receiver ranking ceiling out there. I think it's like T. Higgins. And like at one point, like T. Higgins was like a top 12 dynasty ranked receiver, right? So, I don't know. I don't think I'm being too harsh when I say that. Am I being too harsh when I say that? We're at the end of the 9th round. I'm not really obsessed with any of the players available here, to be honest, but I will go ahead and just take RJ Harvey for the sake of it. Jonah Coleman going at the 906. You know, I'll take Harvey there at the 910. Yeah, Caleb really's got to clean up some of the errant passing for sure. Brizzleton says that's where I'm at, Zach. I just don't see a huge breakout in his future. I think we could see. I think Burden could finish like as a top 15 receiver this year. You know, I think that's totally within the realm of possibility. Scribble says, Zach, did you see Bush brought a doctor? Yes, Scribbles, but what you're not mentioning here is I did watch that. Yes, the doctor that he brought on said that he's not worried about it, but he would be worried about it if in season we hear it come up again. Like, he was saying that, yes, right now it's nothing to be too concerned about, but in season, if we hear that it's hampering him again, or like he's limited in practice because of it, or, you know, it's a reoccurring thing, He did mention that that would be a huge red flag, and it would have potentially big career-altering implications. So I do think it's important to consider all the factors. And let's be honest, like, we're all just guesstimating the best that we can based off the information that we have. If you're an Odunze guy, you have to say, look, it's not good to hear what he said. If you're not an Odunze guy, you have to take it in context and say, well, he is a full practice. He's a full participant in practice, right? So, yeah. Fuji Apple says, I think we overrate Caleb Williams because of all the wow moments, but in terms of playing quarterback position, throwing on time and on target to open receivers, he's got a lot of work to do. I agree with you, which is actually scary to think about the fact, like, and it's funny because I have been someone who has not been on board of the idea of Caleb Williams being like a first-round pick in startups this year. But it is kind of scary to think that he had 18.7 points per game last year and completed 58% of his passes. Like, as someone who hasn't drafted Caleb at all in the first round this year, and there's a lot of people who have, that is scary to think about how much better he could potentially get. And I think he will just keep getting better. Let Go, Let God says, and for him to hit a T. Higgins ceiling, he's going to have to score touchdowns, but most people agree that Loveland is going to be the... See, I don't agree with that right there. This is where I would push back. That, I mean, Odunze has been a great red zone threat for them. He's been a big touchdown guy. Obviously, we would have saw that more last year probably if the injury didn't occur. But he did that at Washington. I think he'll be a big red zone threat for them still. So, yeah, I mean... You're not going to only target Colson Loveland when you're... It's not like when they get inside the 20-yard line, Caleb Williams is like, well, sorry, Rome, but let's see, where is Loveland? You know, I have to target him. So I think sometimes we may be like over-emphasize these statements, you know. It's not as if Rome Odunze is not a red zone threat. It's not as if he's not going to get targets inside the end zone, inside the red zone, inside the 5, inside the 10, right? See, this is a little concerning because you're not wrong, Ben. Ben said he had fine accuracy when not throwing to Rome Odunze. It was weird how many targets Roma got and how Rome Odunze got and how, you know, just they were just not on the same page. It was really strange. Mason's here. He says, is the gap between Lemon and Tate usually that large? Lemon and Tate, yeah, between like the... So, no, we did talk about earlier that Tate is going higher in mock drafts than he is in real drafts. So, Tate goes at the 302 here, Lemon at the 509. I don't think that's really too reflective. Let's look at real draft ADP. In real draft ADP, Tate on average is the 401 in land leagues this year. And if you were to compare that to like Lemon on average, there's not as big of a gap between them. It's only about a round rather than what is it here in this mock draft. In this mock draft, it's like, it's over 2 rounds in this mock draft. It's like 2.5 rounds. So in real draft ADP, the difference is only about a round. So yeah, definitely not happening in a lot of real drafts though. Okay, guys, should we do another mock draft or should we jump into some trade questions? What do you guys think? If you want another mock draft, I'm going to set a light goal for you, and you have 1 round to hit it. I'll let Coker be my pick here in a second. Okay. Another mock draft? What do you guys think? I'm not going to get into an underdog draft. No, I'm good. No disrespect to them, obviously. But no, I'm not going to do that here. Okay, if you want another mock draft, I'm going to set the like goal at 50. All right, 50 likes is the goal. If we hit that, I'll do another mock draft for you guys. Otherwise, I'm just going to jump straight into some trade questions. Okay. What's up, Albert? Welcome in, my friend. I will say, like, Scribbles, I agree with you that, like, we're all guesstimating this Doomsday stuff, but to be fair, like, if this injury is a recurring thing this year, a lot of us will be like, damn, I mean, it was staring right at us. You know what I mean? I'm saying, because, like, I haven't sold every share of a Doomsday, but I have lowered my my overall, what I guess you could say, like, portfolio of him. Let's have a look on the Flock site. I'm pretty sure I only have him in one league now. And some of that wasn't intentional. Yeah, I have him in only about 6.7% of my leagues. Got Burden in 20%. I wish I had more Loveland. I only have 13% of Loveland, but my highest exposure of player is Chris Olave, Jaden Daniels, Jameson, Bucky, Puka, Lamb, Achan. Okay, we have one last pick here to make, and we haven't drafted a tight end. So, yeah, I guess we can take Jake Ferguson, the 12th in the tight end premium format. I feel pretty good about the squad. Here. I mean, I think this is a team where you've got a lot of flexibility in season, but we're starting Herbert, Lawrence, Hampton, Price, Amon-Ra, Zay, DJ Moore, Jake Ferguson, Addison, Harvey. Feel pretty good about that if that was a real squad there. I agree that Loveland probably leads in end zone targets, but I just don't agree that it'll be like some huge split between him and, you know, like, let's say Loveland has 30% of the red zone targets or the end zone targets. I mean, Dunze is probably at like 25 for me, so I don't think it's as big of a gap. All right, so it looks like the consensus does want another mock draft here. Yeah, Fuji Apple. I know, right? Brizzleton says, I got Rome in one league in its best ball, so I'm good. Okay, well, the expert consensus says that Mark Twain had the best draft today. He has Josh Allen, Bryce Young. Not a bad team. Funnily enough, that team has Rome Odunze. Josh Allen might be working overtime there. The experts got me at 4. Which I'm happy with the squad. What about my rankings? My rankings have Sebro as the best team. Sebro with a squad of Hurts, Baker, Hendo, Monty, White, Puka, Jefferson, Collins, Concepcion, Pitts. I like that team a lot, so that makes sense. Makes sense as to why he got that that tag there. We have 4. We're 4 likes away from another mock draft. Okay. So if you guys want to see another mock draft today, we are 4 likes away from the goal. I'll give you guys another 2 minutes to hit it. Otherwise, we'll jump into some trade questions straight away. And we are going to make this a quick one. We'll make it 10 rounds. And we'll make it 15 seconds per pick. So this is going to go quick. But we'll do a super flex. We'll go super flex start 10. Okay. Super flex start 10. And where do you guys want me to draft from? The first person to comment in the chat, whatever spot you want me to draft from, I'll draft from that spot. Okay, 8. Sparrow says 8. Let's do it. What's up, Chief Keith? He says, does the draft guide work for a keeper league? Will it update with the players the teams have kept on their roster once the draft starts? So that's a good question. I've had this question before. This cheat sheet is not inherently built for, I think you're talking about the cheat sheet tool on the draft guide, right? Which I'm very proud of our draft guide. It's actually incredible. I think it's the best draft guide in the industry. It's not even close, but everyone has their opinions. So let's say you have like a keeper league on ESPN, right? All right, you're going to put in all your settings. Whatever your settings are, you can customize them, right? And let's say you're drafting from the 108. What you're going to want to do when you go in, which, by the way, I updated it recently. I am using the tool myself, and every time that you guys use it, feel free to send me feedback. This is not really designed for Dynasty, to be clear. This is designed for redraft, best ball, that kind of stuff. But if you're in a keeper league, what you're going to need to do is just, when you enter the cheat sheet, you're going to want to manually mark off who is already kept in your league. So if you know, for example, Bijan is kept, Gibbs is kept, Chase, like if you just know that the top, 12 players are already kept, or however many keepers you have. The thing is, I can't really build out a tool right now because every keeper league is so different. They all have different rules. They all have different amount of keepers, or what that means to certain draft picks, right? So the best way for you to work this tool, if you have a keeper league, is to manually mark off who isn't available. There's a search tool as well. Okay, so if you know someone random is taken, like Jordan Addison, perfect. Okay, let's go ahead and mark him off. We've also got the ability for you to show players who are taken if you want. But I love the cheat sheet tool. And I mean, I think it's incredible. I've been using it myself in some drafts. I'll be using it in our first best ball draft as well on the Fantasyland stream. But yeah, so let me know if that's helpful. Does that help, Chief? Because, I would be lying to you if I said, yeah, it's built for keeper leagues. But that doesn't mean that you can't still make it work for keeper leagues, right? That's just the workaround you'd have to do. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and send this link to get into a mock draft. If you guys haven't, if you've already gotten into a mock draft today, if you got into the first one, maybe just wait a second and let someone else try and join ahead of you. I'm gonna put that link in the chat there, in the YouTube chat. So it'll be first come, first serve, but just be, maybe be a good guy. Let someone else try and get in if you already got in the first one. By the way, Chief says you're the GOAT. I appreciate that. No, but hopefully that works. I mean, logically I feel like that would work for keeper leagues, right? That makes sense, right? Mac, the easiest way to join any mock drafts that we do over here is by going to flockfantasy.com/land, create a brand new account with the code LAND. It can be a free account, and then anytime we do mock drafts here, you'll be able to jump in. Okay, let's go ahead and start this thing off. Like I said, you got to be on your P's and Q's. It's a 15-second clock here, guys. 15-second clock. All right. Superflex start 10. Style says, never forget back in the day when we publicly humiliated whoever joined the mock twice. Yes, that was fun. I love how you always call me Chief. It's Chef. You know what? That's my bad. All right. That's my bad. All right, so let's call that first mock draft the Roma Dunze mock draft. Who knows what conversations will happen in the second mock draft? Okay, wow, Drake May falling all the way to the 107. Pretty wild. I do think that there's one more player in this tier. It's Jaden Daniels for me. What's his average ADP on in real land leagues? He is the 109 on average. There was one draft where he fell all the way to 18. But for the most part, most of my community, the land community, would put some respect on Jaden Daniels and still have him as a first-round pick. Ollie over Wright. I honestly don't have a strong opinion on the Dolphins backfield. I was not a big Ollie Gordon guy in last year's rookie draft. Big surprise. I got a lot of hate for it. Yeah, I just think he's a backup level talent. They're both backup level talents. They both haven't proven really anything. I know it's not fair to say that with, Ollie Gordon being a rookie, but that's just my God's honest truth, and I'm sticking to it. I'll take a Marion Hampton here at the 205. This startup looks like a Sammy Stack special, doesn't it? Yeah, I agree with Scribbles here. I think it would be a split if one of them were to go down. So there's certain backfields where I don't really know how worth it is to stash their backup. Obviously in Dynasty it's different, but like I'm just thinking from like a redraft perspective. For example, like the Bills, Ray Davis and Ty Johnson probably going to split work. The Jets, Braylon Allen and Isaiah Davis are probably going to split work, right? The Ravens, for sure, it would be a split time. The Texans, the Colts, the Raiders, the Chiefs, the Cowboys. I mean, there's not many, and there's a lot, but there's a lot of unclear backfields. The Packers now with Wilson gone. So sometimes we might be roster clogging a little bit. All right, Lamb, London, Burrow, Mahomes. Mahomes going in the second round, back-to-back mock drafts, which we don't see in real drafts. McBride, Achane. Wow, Achane at the 211 is crazy. I don't know why. I just find that so wild to see. Okay, yeah, I'm going to take Rashee Rice here then. I'll take Rashee Rice. I've got my wide receiver rankings video coming out on Monday or Sunday for you guys this upcoming week. But I wanted to switch it up for my wide receiver rankings video. I did rankings, but I also did 7 buy lows during, I kind of mixed it into the rankings video. So excited for you guys to watch that. I think the Broncos is a little bit more clear. You know, I guess you're right in the sense of like Jonah Coleman probably gets work and it's probably a little bit messy between him and Harvey. But I think there would just be a lot of value. So that backfield is just something I, regardless, would want to target there. I'll take Ken Walker here. Okay. Yeah, I agree. Ravens would be an interesting one. Yeah, Jalen Hurts falls to the 310. That's a great start for F this game. I wonder if F this game is like, do you mean like fantasy football in general? Maybe you've been hurt by fantasy football. I don't know. Kevin says, is it crazy to trade Breece and Achane for Gibbs and Dynasty? I've loved Price, Swift as other running backs. Is it crazy? It's a high price to pay. You'd have to be in a pretty small format. What are you hoping Jeremiah Love does in his first 4 years as a player? Probably what Achane's done already, right? It'd have to be a pretty small format for me to do that, but Scribbles, I don't think the Chiefs running back room is clear. Emmett Johnson has a chance, but we've heard a lot about DeMarcado as well. I don't think it's as clear as people want it to be right now. Okay. We're going to grab Brian Thomas here. We'll take some Brian Thomas at the 508. This is, oh my gosh, this is very Sammy Stacks coded today. It is a 0.5 tight end premium, 0.5 tight end premium, nothing crazy. I agree that Achane feels a little bit underpriced in this draft at the 211. And real drafts this offseason, where is he typically? 208, so I guess it's not crazy. I mean, a lot of that was before he got that contract extension. So you can see, you know, past the NFL draft, he's only gone that late once in a real draft. You are not going to pay me to draft Jordan Love. So instead, I'm going to come back and grab Javonte Williams here. I agree. Chiefs offense does feel weird, but it also feels good. It's strange because you can see both outcomes, right? I think if we all just knew that Mahomes would play 17 games, Rashee Rice would play 17 games, and Ken Walker would play 17 games, I think a lot of us would be a lot more in on the Chiefs offense, kind of like as a whole. But all those are question marks we don't know the answer to yet. I do like Adam Randall a lot. He's got some big size. You know, the Ravens don't really have a running back outside of Henry that you would imagine them giving like 15 carries a game to. Right? If he went down, I don't think Justice Hill, Rasheen Ali would get a bunch of carries. So I do think that it's fair to say Adam Randall could be involved there. Bristleton says, I'm way too high on Emmett. I think people are sleeping on him. I just don't see where the work comes from unless there's an injury in Kansas City. But this is a fun start at the one spot there. Look at that young wide receiver core. That's really fun with Bijan anchoring the running back room. I like it. Fannin, Tootin, Kraft, Jacobs, Concepcion in the 7th round. As Kyle Pitts is gone. Yeah, I'll go and take Kyler Murray here as my quarterback 2. Kyler Murray is my quarterback 2 here. Team that I would probably try and contend with if this was a real league. Guys, appreciate y'all being here. I am giving away a live team playbook on today's stream. If you'd like to enter the giveaway, all you have to do is like the stream and then type in the code word for today, which is Kronos. Kronos. Yes, I said that right. Those are the 2 simple steps. And that is the code word because this time next week, we'll be doing a real Dynasty Startup Draft with the Kronos League over on landleagues.com. Of course, it's going to glitch out as soon as I'm showing you. But you can enter the raffle here on landleagues.com for that league. Obviously, you need to be a promo code LAND annual Mother Flocker member. But we've got that Kronos League, which is already 7 spots out of 12 filled. And if you want to get a guaranteed spot in that league, then it's very simple. All you have to do is become a promo code LAND annual Mother Flocker member. One of many, 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 many perks is guaranteed spot into one of our community leagues. Okay. I'll come back here and take a little Christian Watson in the 8th. Sorry, I stayed on that screen way too long. My bad. All right. We get 2 tight ends on the turn there with Laporta and Sadiq. It is a 0.5 tight end premium. So Fuji says, Zach, I love your take on buying Jonathan Brooks. I 100% would do it. The problem is the team that has him in my Dynasty League has by far the best team. He has no incentive to trade Brooks. Yeah. I mean, that's tough. Yeah, there's nothing if you can't really offer him anything, and if he's not interested in trading for the player or trading away the player, then you're in a little bit of a hard spot there. But I do love me some Jonathan Brooks. I wish I had more Jonathan Brooks exposure. I definitely have Jonathan Brooks exposure. I don't know why it's not showing there. I'll have to look at that later, but I think I have like 4 shares, if I'm not mistaken. Huge run of quarterbacks here. Stroud, Darnold, Simpson, Jones, Stafford. Just a huge old quarterback run. Bryce Young is still available, guys. You can still draft Bryce Young if you want to, y'all. Brizzleton says, I was already high on Emmett before the draft. Let me grab a little Mike Evans action there. Now he's possibly behind Walker, who seems to always need an RB2 to be more productive. Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, I wasn't able to add more Brooks to the shares that I already had this offseason. I sent a lot of offers. A lot of offers. Okay. 15 seconds is hard. You got to be on your P's and Q's here a little bit. Okay. Speaking of Jonathan Brooks, he goes in the 10th round. I am on the clock here. And if this is a real draft, I probably wouldn't force tight end at this spot. Instead, I'd probably just go Warren. I know I don't have a tight end yet in this build, but I just feel like I'd be forcing it. Through 10 rounds, this is what my squad would look like if this was real life. Daniels, Murray, Hampton, Walker, Rice, Thomas, Javonte, Watson, Evans, Warren. I mean, that's a team that's ready to go win championships. JMO says, should RJ Harvey be the first Broncos running back off the board? You know what? Like, lately, he hasn't been, at least in my opinion, let me double check, but since the NFL draft took place, I don't think he's been look at his trends. They're down big time in the last 2 weeks. But even if you compare like Jonah Coleman, for example, like since the NFL draft, Jonah Coleman has actually been picked earlier 67% of real land league drafts. So I think in a lot of startup drafts, Harvey is actually a pretty good value relative to where the rest of the running backs there are going. But yeah. All right, guys. Appreciate y'all jumping into that draft. That was a lot of fun. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to get into some trade questions. Okay. And right after the trade questions segment has concluded, I will do the giveaway for a live team playbook. So if you're out there and you want your team reviewed, you want to enter the giveaway for today, this is your last chance to enter. And then, by the way, last week I did a trade show. Okay. And I had a lot of fun. And you guys had a lot of fun with it as well. So I'm going to do that again on, I think, Thursday night. I'm going to do that again this week on Thursday night. So make sure you get your trade questions in after today's stream. if you want to be featured in that on Thursday night. Okay, last chance to enter to win a live team playbook. All you have to do to enter was like the stream and type Kronos into the chat, y'all. What did you trade? This is Frizzle quickly. He says, would you trade a second for Gunnar Helm? No, definitely not. I like Gunnar Helm as a cheap speculative ad, but no, I'm not going to send a second for Gunnar Helm. Definitely not. I'd send a third. But no, I don't think I could send a second for Gunnar. Okay. If you want to get your team reviewed tonight, if you want me to answer a trade question, it's all through the same exact link. I'll put that link in the chat for you. Okay. Obviously, if you're a Land Annual Mother Flocker member, then you're going to get a free team review voucher. And there's also a spot there on the link tree where you can enter a trade question. But let's jump in from Whomper. This is a 1 quarterback, 10 team start 8. He would send away Jamar Chase to get back Jaden Daniels, Chris Rodriguez, Jameson Williams, Downs, and a first. Look, if this is a super flex league, then it's a no-brainer. This is why I say the trade calculators are not perfect, because I don't agree that you win this trade. I think you lose this trade. It's a small league. Okay, it's only a 10-team league. It's only a start 8 lineup. It's a small league, small lineup. Jamar Chase is just not tradable. And if you trade him, you're needing like a ridiculous amount of draft capital. Okay, so this is a hard pass for me. I will keep Jamar Chase. If you were to counter, like, let's remove Josh Downs and Chris Rodriguez, and let's get Jadarian Price in here. Like, now this makes more sense to me. I'm getting a young asset that I love in Price, a future first, Jameson, and Daniels. That makes more sense. Like, the fact that Rodriguez and Downs are even in this trade is kind of, like, disrespectful to Jamar Chase, in my opinion. Like, how is Carnell Tate not involved in this trade? You know what I mean? I think Daniels, the first, and Tate makes a lot more sense. Yeah, I don't like the trade as it's currently constructed, but those are some counters that I feel a lot better about. Beans, what's up? 1 quarterback, 10-team start 9 with a tight end premium. They would send away Drake May, Josh Jacobs, and Shaheed to get back Breece Hall, Mike Evans, and a first. It's a 1 quarterback league. Yeah, this is pretty enticing. You've already got Josh Allen on the squad. I don't see why you wouldn't do this. Going from Jacobs to Breece, which I think Jacobs is underrated. But let's say May is worth what? Like a first and Evans in 1 quarterback formats? Is he worth more than that? Maybe. I don't know. I like it. It's only a 10-team league. I think I would do this trade. The counter you could try is getting Jameson instead of Mike Evans. Like, if you want to try a counter, but I'm personally fine with this. I'm sorry, Drake May people. I know you're going to hate me, but in a 1 quarterback format, that's pretty good value. What's up, Joe? Joe's in a super flex 12-team start 9. He says, I'm contending, but don't know if I should do this trade. He would send away Corum, Chase, and a first for London and Genty. Wow. We got to pull the chat for this one. Wow. What do you guys think? I love Blake Corum, but Blake Corum is not going into this conversation as a needle mover. Man, this is actually kind of wild. I think I like the Genty London side here. If you made this trade, you'd be starting Daniels, Herbert, Gibbs, Genty, which is just so hot. London, Thomas. Your receiver room is not great. Then at tight end, you would start Warren. That top 7 is great. But man, if that's your own 27 first, look at the flexes you're rolling out there, man. Like, you're relying on Alec Pierce, Godwin, Myers. I don't love those flexes, man. But this is better value. I don't really want to give your first, but at the same time, this is pretty damn good value. You have 3 firsts in 2028. Would they be willing to take one of those 28 firsts instead? Whichever of these 28 firsts are not yours, remove the 27 first, and also send like a second in the deal. I would rather do something like that. But overall, I think you gotta, like, if you were to make this trade, you probably need to send those firsts away to figure out your flex spots. You could wait till in season to do that, so you really know you're getting a flex. But I am okay to do this package. But if you do this package, you're going all in, and you need to make sure you fill out those flex spots. But I mean, guys, let's be honest for a second here. The real question that we're asking is, would you trade, if we're doing a Dynasty Startup draft, would you trade the 103 or 4 in a Dynasty Startup draft for the 111 and the 203, but you also have to give up your 27 first? Like, are we really not doing that trade? You know what I mean? If you think about it from that perspective, it'd be hard not to take the Genty side. But again, you do need to start shopping for flexes if you make this trade, and I would really prefer that you send your 28 first away instead. That's a fun one. Okay, Petrowski is sending away Goff and Lamb to get back Love and Neighbors. So he sends away Jared Goff and CeeDee Lamb to get back Jordan Love and Malik Neighbors. This is tough because I really don't like Jordan Love, but I do love the idea of moving from Lamb to Neighbors. This is about as equal as a trade gets. I would personally say that probably the gap between Lamb and Neighbors is probably the same gap between Goff and Love for me. So this does feel like quite even. And I think this is an important factor here. If you're contending, then you need to know that Goff and Lamb are the much better contending assets. If you're more of like a sleeper or a one-year punt, Love and Neighbors is probably pretty easily the answer there. You have Mahomes, no quarterback 2. Well, you'd have Mahomes, Love if you did this. You'd have Javonte, no real RB2. You don't look like a serious contender. I mean, based off this team, I don't think you're a real contender, so it probably does make sense to go Love and Neighbors here and wait for Neighbors to get fully healthy. If I'm reading that correctly, you don't look like a contender. I'm fine to take Love and Neighbors, but yeah, that's a fine trade. I think that's pretty fair. Okay. Andy, what's up, Andy? He's in a Superflex start 9. He says it's a mid to late 27 first or the 26 108. Okay, let me be very clear. I would have no problem sending the 108 in this year's draft for Bashul Tutin. No problems taking that risk. The question is really, at that point, Ty Simpson, Kenyon Sadiq, or Omar Cooper versus Bashul Tutin. I'll take Tutin. I like him this year to make a bigger impact. Even though I'm not sold on him being the guy, I think there's a range of outcomes there. But there's absolutely no chance I'm sending a 27 first. In fact, I am asking people to actively send Tutin away if they can get a 27 first. And I've made videos about this, and of course the comment section has been filled with people saying there's no way that's possible, even though we see it happening every day. So if I'm reading this right, and you are sending away Bashul Tutin, and you can either get the first or the 108, then I would take the 27 first. I have no interest in the 26 108. Yeah, just being honest with you, no interest at all. So, yeah, dude. I mean, are we all on the same page here? Would you guys rather have Tutin or a 27 first? Let's say late. I mean, I'm pretty easily going to take that first. Yes, Tutin can raise in value. He can break out. That's totally a possibility. But I think he's a very risky asset. There's a lot of up and down in his market and in the future, in my opinion. Even if he has a good offseason. I mean, look at how people are like up and down on Bucky Irving because of his draft capital. So that 27 first is not going to lose value. I'll take that 27 first all day. And 92% of people in the chat agree with me. S. Rashid. This might be Rashid Shaheed. I don't know. It might be actually Rashid Shaheed. Wow, so this person would send away the 106 in a late first for a Dunze, the 112, and the 202. In my opinion, and I am not anti-Dunze. I hope that was made very clear in today's stream. In my opinion, you're paying way too much for Roma Dunze here. I'm sorry. This is transparently, it's not even close, to be honest with you. Let me put a poll up, though. I'm curious if the poll might disagree with me. Maybe I'm off track here, but here's the way I view this. You are essentially sending away 2 seconds. Sorry, you're essentially buying 2 second rounders and a Dunze for 2 really good first round picks. That just seems like we are way overvaluing a Dunze there. I love the top 6. Oh, actually, guys, this is not a super flex league. Okay, this is not a super flex league, but that makes the 202 less valuable too. So that is actually probably Casey Concepcion instead of Jadarian Price. I mean, if I knew that was Jadarian Price in a late first, I'm probably going that side pretty easily. But what if it was Concepcion in the late first? I mean, I'm probably still taking the picks just because that 112 and that 202 really don't hold much weight for me. You don't have Simpson and Mendoza making those picks more valuable as well. So if we think about this logically for a second, let me just think about this for 1 second. In a 1 quarterback format, that 112 would be I mean, that 112, I would say that 112 is probably Fernando Mendoza. Yeah, you're probably right out. Look, maybe Mendoza goes in the top 12. In my experience, most 1 quarterback leagues are not going to put Mendoza that high. So you probably don't get Boston. You probably don't get Coleman. You probably don't get Stowers. It's probably Mendoza or, then it's get your Guyland. I just think, I think I'm gonna take the picks there. I think I'm gonna take the picks. I know for sure that 27 first is going to hold value. I don't know that about Rome Odunze. While I do love him as a prospect, I just think Concepcion or Jadarian Price plus that first is probably too much value for me to pass up on. But what did the Adunze stands think of that? I mean, would you guys sell Adunze for that? That's a hard package to pass up on, I think. Okay, let's do this giveaway. We are giving away a live team playbook. All you had to do to enter was like the stream and then type the code word today, which was Kronos. All right. Let's go ahead and spin the wheel. 28 entries, only one winner. Good luck to all, and to all, good luck. Our winner for today to win a live team playbook on the stream is going to be Matt Seal, which that looks like a new name, which is awesome. Shout out to Matt Seal. Or maybe you changed your username recently. I'm not sure. But hey, man, to claim your voucher, it's very simple. All you have to do is DM me on Discord. There's my username on the screen. I need a screenshot of your YouTube account so I can verify you. And I need you to tell me your Flock Fantasy username so I can give you a voucher on the back end. If you don't have an account yet, create one with the code LAND. That way I can find you in my database, right? So, yeah, appreciate you. Appreciate you big time. And thanks everybody for entering today. Let's go ahead and let's jump in. We had one more trade question that just came through. So I want to make sure I get to that before we jump in too far here into these team reviews. Zane with the question. It's a Superflex 12 team start 10 with a Titan premium. He says 12-man start 10, been stuck in a rebuild. He would send away Kyler, Adunze, a first and a second for Hurts, Pollard, Jawan, Andrews, second. I mean, look, I'm of the opinion that Jalen Hurts is undervalued right now, but this does not seem like a good use of your assets if you're stuck in a rebuild. Like, transparently, Pollard, Jennings, Andrews, these are not players that I really view as like needle movers in a trade. Anybody out there have Tony Pollard or Andrews or Juwan Jennings? Have you tried to sell them in Dynasty this offseason? These are probably like the three most difficult players to sell in Dynasty right now. That's a little bit hyperbolic, but I know for sure, as someone who has Pollard in a couple leagues, nobody cares. All right? People aren't even sure if they want to send you a 27th third at this point. Okay, so like, I think like you're getting 3 players out of the 4 players in this deal that really aren't going to make that big of an impact. You're making a big downgrade at tight end long term. And I believe that Kyler Murray could have a huge resurrection in fantasy football this year in Minnesota. So this would be like a monumentally hard pass for me. And again, I do love Jalen Hurts. I just don't think that like on a point per game basis, it's just scary because there's a world here where Murray and Hurts could hypothetically give you a similar point per game this year. I recognize that Kyler has risk, but so does Jalen Hurts. So yeah, this would be like a really hard pass for me. If you want to get out of a rebuild, then I'm not opposed to you. I mean, yeah, and even looking at your team, man, like, I don't think you can really afford to give up your first. Even if you made this trade, you're starting Jalen Hurts and Cam Ward, Bryce Young as quarterback 3, Jordan Mason as RB2. Well, I guess you'd have Pollard, but still, that's not going to move the needle. Yeah, this is not a team that's good enough to give up their first round pick. I'm sorry, and this just doesn't. This doesn't make enough sense for me. I think I'm gonna hard pass on that one. I'll hard pass on that one. Look, guys, if you have trade questions, happy to kind of get to them as I go back and forth between these team reviews. But I am going to jump into that portion of today's stream. If you want to get your team review today, you can check out the link in the pinned comment. But of course, best way to get your team reviewed is by becoming a promo code LAND annual Mother Flocker member. Let's go to Glittering Wedding. Glittering Wedding, let me know if you're in the chat with me, my friend. Team name is Winter Soldier. which you are ranked first there. You are in a Superflex Start 10. So that's a good format there. And let's read this context. He says, "Oh, this is maybe Viking. I'm contending. Had to make moves. Is this? Did you just ask the trade question?" Either way, I really don't like that trade. If that was you, just so we're on the same page, don't like that trade. Glittering Wedding says just traded Garrett Wilson and Henderson for Tetaroa. Maybe a little bit of an overpay, but I'm looking to suck as most as possible this year and try to compete either next year or the year after. Lots of draft capital to work with. Let me know how you would proceed with this team. Look, I'll just say first off, like, Garrett Wilson and Henderson for Tet is pretty damn expensive. I don't think I would have paid that. And even if you don't want to compete this year, to make that trade, in June, when they only start scoring points in September anyway, I think we could have seen a lot more Travion Henderson hype as we get closer to the NFL season. And I love T-Mac. He's the safest asset there, but it's still not crazy to suggest that if Henderson has like a 16-point per game season, that he might even be drafted higher than McMillan next year. So that is probably, I mean, for me right now, who knows? Like, I could be wrong. I could look like an idiot in a year's time from now. Like, who knows? But that's going to be too expensive for me personally. Let's have a look. So you want to be bad this year. You want to add draft capital. So let's try and help you accomplish that goal. All right. Well, obviously your untouchables, Josh Allen, but it sounds like we're probably going to move him. Just keep that in mind. Jeremiah Love would be really your main untouchable here. There's no tight end premium, but Loveland's close as well. Players that I would hold here, Luther Burden for sure. We're going to go out and hold on this squad. Kyle Williams, I'd like to see what he can do in year 2. If he can break through at all. Unfortunately, it looks like he's maybe going to go down as a nothing burger. DJ Giddens, just because if there's an injury to JT in season, he could have some value. Taylon Green and Cade Klubnik are really great holds as well. If you want to drop some names, to me, Xavier Legette is definitely droppable at this point. Cedric Tillman is droppable at this point, but I understand if you don't want to drop them. I mean, you could drop Seth McGowan over Tillman if you wanted to keep Tillman. On the waiver wire, I know Darnell Washington just signed an extension, but I'm not really that bothered by rostering him in fantasy football specifically. And I know he's started to improve as a receiving threat, but just not too bothered by that. Just gonna get a little light in here. Okay, so right now you're essentially wanting to do a 1-year punt, right? That's your goal, and I think that makes sense given the lack of depth on the team. You've got to be honest with you, like the thing is, if this was Allen, Malik, Love, Henderson, London, Wilson, Loveland, Burden, yeah, you'd still be short on flexes, so I see where you're going. Right now, you're definitely not a deep enough team to go out there and compete. 3 firsts is awesome. 2 firsts in 28, 3 in 27. Look, it's not a bad team at all. Like, despite me saying I wouldn't have made that trade, like, it's still a good team. This would be a really fun roster to have right now with a lot of young players that people love and a lot of draft capital in the future. So I'm going to give you a B+ grade overall. But, Glittering Wedding, if you've been watching the channel for a while, and I think you have, I think I've had some conversations with you offline, then you know I'm not going to hold back from exactly what I think. And that Wilson to Henderson trade is probably not done at the right time. Worst time you can sell a running back is in the offseason. And yeah, I just think we maybe got a little too trade happy. That happens to the best of us, right? But you never want to be okay with losing a trade. Definitely don't want to be okay with losing a trade in June, you know? So obviously the big elephant in the room here is Josh Allen. Because if you don't want to compete, you probably shouldn't have Josh Allen on the squad. In fact, he's really the only name that I think you should desperately is the wrong move. Okay, we've already desperately done some trades. But that you should be really like looking at doing some trades for. Jacoby Myers, look, like if you can get any second in any year, maybe he starts off hot, then you can trade him. For Jake Ferguson, we'll take an early to mid-second in any year. But Josh Allen is really the guy that you'll want, and don't force a trade. We've seen that happen in the past, and you're a member, so you've got those 6 vouchers that you can come back and ask a trade question anytime on the stream. So don't, if someone's forcing you into a trade and you don't feel like you can wait and ask some advice, just know that they're probably not giving you a good trade anyway. But let's have a look. Who can we send away? Okay, so like sending Josh Allen away, I'd love to do like a Caleb Williams move, right? And I think we could actually do Josh Allen plus Jake Ferguson here, because this guy could use a tight end. Okay, but if we did Josh Allen and Jake Ferguson, could we get back? Let me cook something real fast. I almost feel like we want to go Caleb Williams plus a 27 first. Wow, interesting. And I was going to say maybe Bashul Tootin. It's worth kind of having him as a what if. Caleb Williams, not Kane Williams. Thank you very much. I don't want to undersell Josh Allen, but I don't think you're going to get more than that. And I don't think you want to buy any of these receivers as a rebuilding team. The other way around this, which is I probably would prefer, is if you could do something like that where it's 2 firsts and you send Josh Allen and Jake Ferguson. That's probably more reaching than this one with Tootin. Let's keep looking. Can we go to... Well, this guy you just traded with. I don't mind a Lawrence deal. Oh, yes. Trevor Lawrence plus Emeka Egbuka would be an awesome start. Can we give this guy Jacoby Myers or Jake Ferguson? I would love to get a 27 first here. Maybe we can send back Jake Ferguson or Jacoby Myers and something like maybe one of the seconds that aren't yours. What's the most least valuable second you have? Something like that would be awesome. Let's see. No worries, Hurricane Zane. No stress at all, my friend. One thing I would suggest, if you're going to purchase a team review and you're not already a member with someone, then consider becoming a promo code LAND annual Mother Flocker member, because that's going to give you a free team review voucher anyway, and then complete access to the site, all the draft guides, 6 straight question vouchers. All right, so that is definitely the most bang for your buck. But if you're already a member of a different community, then a la carte still an option for you there. Okay, let's keep looking. Because I like some of these deals. Vitor says, I already did try to get Caleb in a 27 first for Allen trade up. He didn't budge. That's okay. Not every deal is gonna work. And by the way, this is a player like Josh Allen. You might have to wait until in season. In season, what's the quarterback that we love that just got injured? What's the receiver that we all love that just got injured? That's when maybe you can send to a contending team Josh Allen and get these assets back that we love. These are just the structures that I'd be okay with. So remain patient. Even if it's week 4 of the season, you don't have a deal done, don't panic sell Josh Allen. Okay, but these are the type of structures we like. So back here to like Jackson Dart plus Carnell Tate, right? I would like to add a 27 first here, but I don't know how realistic that is. Like maybe you could send a 27 second to him. Maybe if... I think it's probably more realistic to do Brian Thomas instead of Carnell Tate if you want that first. But what do we think, guys? Like, would you be willing right now to send away Josh Allen for Dart and Tate straight up? I don't know if it's enough for me, but I'm not sure how you could get much more back in return. Like, maybe you're asking there for Eli Stowers as well. You know? The Brian Thomas trade seems a lot more realistic, though. Okay. I don't mind like a Herbert Price. I don't think you can do Herbert and Price straight up. Yeah, I don't think it's going to work with that guy. He doesn't have any draft capital. I love a Jaden Daniels deal. You could even afford a Mahomes deal. Let's just say Patrick Mahomes plus, and then you get that 27 first on top. I don't know if you can add on top of that like Casey Concepcion, but you know that would be obviously a lot of fun too. Man, Daniels, oh dude, this would be so awesome. Jaden Daniels plus Jordan Tyson would just be so hot. And you can add Jake Ferguson or a second to get that done. I would do Daniels and a 27 first as well, if that's possible. Again, you could send back Jake Ferguson, a second, Jacoby Myers. But the Tyson and Daniels one definitely has me like hot and bothered right now. And I was going to say a Purdy deal, but this guy has no capital. I don't really see like something that makes sense for you. So look, these are ideas. This is to help you brainstorm. I'd be happy with any of those deals. That's a lot that we came up with there. Let me know if there's anything that I have not gone through. Any questions that you have that that you want me to answer. I'm here, happy to answer. But if you're not able to get a deal like this done, just be patient. And if you have a deal in your inbox and you want my advice, this is why I always tell people, if you're going to get a review, you might as well become a annual Mother Flocker member, because you can see number 4 there, the trade hotline. You've got 6 trade question vouchers, part of your membership. You can come back at any time, ask a question. You know I'm always streaming every week, at least 2 times a week. Now I think it'll be at least 3 times a week all across both channels. But yeah, so let me know if you got any final questions there. He says, I'll be having a nightmares about that Henderson trade now. I'm sorry. Look, I didn't want to, you know, it wasn't my goal, to be clear. Okay? My goal was not to make you feel bad. But I do think that you guys really appreciate. I mean, this is now what? We're about to have our 908th playbook here from Joshua. Shout out to Joshua. But I do think that the reason you guys keep coming back is because you appreciate the attention and effort I put into it, and you appreciate how brutally honest I am. So
I gotta keep being brutally honest. But yeah, Scribbles is right. Look, you're not the first person to make a trade that they regret. Dude, I mean, I've made trades that I regret, of course. Okay, you want to feel better about yourself? Do you remember the year that Allen Robinson went to the Los Angeles Rams? Guess who sent a 27 first for that guy during their startup draft? This guy right here. Okay, so we all make stupid trades. Don't worry. All right, Josh, let me know if you're in the chat, my friend. By the way, you should get your playbook within the next 4 or 5 business days. Okay, just so you're aware. Let me know if you're in the chat, Josh. This is a Superflex Start 9, so a little bit of a smaller league. And you are ranked as team name is Chaka Taco, or I think something like that. You're ranked 6th on the site. And you said, made the playoffs last year and lost, trying to win it this year, and in the offseason got Gibbs, McBride, and JMO, which is why I don't have a 27 second, 28 first round pick. Trying to see if I need to do more moves. This league is tough to trade, but can happen if the right price needs some help. First off, Josh, I saw you got a team review last week. You got another one this week. Just so you know, my friend, first off, I appreciate you showing some love to the channel, but if you haven't become a member on the site yet, I know I've said this a lot on the stream. If you haven't become a member on the site yet, I would highly suggest that you do with the code LAND because you get a free team review voucher when you become a member. So if there's not another team that you want advice on, make sure you become a member with the code LAND. But there's a chance, of course, that you're already a member with a different community or you're already a member with me and you're just getting, your third review. I'm not sure, but it is the best bang for your buck, especially when you consider all the vouchers that you get, all the access that you get. But let's have a look at the team here. Yes, so I immediately noticed that we have no first in the next 2 years, which, if anybody knows me well, you pretty much know exactly where I'm going to go with this. This is a Windows open roster. All right, we are going to go out there and compete straight away because we don't have really the luxury of not competing. Now, we have some really high-quality players on this team, which is good, like Jahmyr Gibbs, like Jamar Chase. Those are 2 of the top players in Dynasty right now. Players that I'd like to hold on this team. A lot of these, potential flexes, RB2, 3, 4s, like Rachaad White, Chris Rodriguez, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. You don't have Katron Allen, but you've got a good portion of that backfield. I'd honestly even say a Chigakonkwo, because while you have Trey McBride, if McBride goes down or you need to cover off bye weeks, then he's a good asset there. Look, if you need to drop some names here, if you had to drop names, I don't really want to drop anyone here, actually, but Savion Thomas and maybe Deebo Samuel, I think that's probably the wrong move right now. We need to wait to see what's going to happen in free agency with Deebo. I will say that on the waiver wire, Jalen Knoll is kind of a sore thumb there. I do think he should be rostered. Wow. You don't often see Caleb Johnson on the waiver wire. Maybe that's where he belongs, but you don't often see that. Those are 2 names I would just monitor. I would just keep my eye on them, okay? So in a super flex, here's the good news. It's only a start 9, Joshua. That's good news because you don't have a ton of depth, but you're starting Herbert, Dak, Gibbs, Brown, Chase, Egbuka, McBride. And your 2 flexes are between these 3 names, Bucky, Marvin, Jameson. Okay, look. Don't love the depth for a team that basically has no future first, but you've got a lot of seconds in 27, to be fair. It's not a bad team. It's a good team. It's a good team. It's a good team. You need your guys to stay healthy, though. You can't afford a Gibbs or Chase injury or a McBride injury. You really can't. I'm kind of on the edge of like a B plus here. I think I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt and say B plus because there are so many of those top end talents on the team. But what I would love to do if I were you is take these 27 seconds and we're going to go on a shopping spree. My friend, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 27 seconds. Whatever versions of these seconds you want to sell, I'll leave that up to you. But if you're able to send these 27 seconds away and like, I want to go target the Mike Evans players, right? I want to target Mike Evans. I want to target Devontae Adams with this pick. I want to target Terry McLaurin with this pick. Derrick Henry, right? Maybe a little bit of DeAndre Swift action. Can you tack on... Who has Warren? Ooh. This is probably going to be an instant decline, but like, could you tack Rico Dowdle plus 27 seconds for, you know, like Kyron Williams or something? You know, like how flexible is this league? You know, with Derrick Henry, does it have to be a second and a third? Does it have to be a second and Woody Marks? You know, like that's the type of flexibility you can figure out for yourself, obviously. I also like, and this is maybe a little bit of a wild card, I'm starting to really love the idea of Parker Washington being a buy for contenders this year. There's a lot of risk, has to be said. There's a lot of risk with just how crowded that receiver room can be. But, man, this guy in any spreadsheet, any analytical, you know, backing is a pretty fun bet to make. You know, in season, by the way, if these deals don't work for you, like you could target in season. Who's the hot name? Like, is Wandale getting a ton of targets? Is Metcalf and Pittman back on track? Did Jaden Higgins break out in a way? Is Quentin Johnson still putting up those big weeks? You know, is Chris Godwin back on top in Tampa Bay? You know, you can really wait and kind of hold these picks, but I'd be happy to acquire any of these names right now, at least for one of your seconds, to kind of give you a little more flexibility there. But this is a good team. Because it's a start 9, that does benefit you, that you don't have as much depth. And because it's a start 9, I'm not going to come out here and say, let's tear down off of Gibbs, Chase, McBride. No. Ideally, we actually win our league because of this solid 6 of Herbert, Prescott, Gibbs, Brown, Chase, McBride, right? Those are ideally our foundations. So I like the team a lot, honestly. Those are some small moves that you could probably make. One other thing I was going to say, with you being so all in, I don't hate the idea of moving Marvin Harrison for like an A.J. Brown in this scenario. You know, like for you to have really a 2-year window here you want to take advantage of. A.J. Brown's probably going to be a better fantasy asset than Marvin in that time span, but yeah. Watch the Dementors. They were all around me. Anyway, appreciate you, Josh. Thanks for letting me look at the squad. And obviously, I do hope that was helpful, man. You'll get your playbook within the next 3 to 5 business days or so. We did have AP submit a trade question. Or a team review. We've got Keith here. We've got a trade question from WLH. I'll answer the trade question, then go into Keith's. And let me know if you're here, Keith. Wyatt, you're in a Superflex start 12. Holy hell. Holy hell, that's a big lineup. 0.75 tight end premium. You would send away Jawan Johnson, a first and a second for Jackson Dart. So when I look at this trade, I really don't care about Johnson in the second. It's really a 27 first or Jackson Dart. And Startup ADP alone would tell you that Dart is easily the play here. He is typically a 3rd round pick in Dynasty startup drafts. This would give you Dart, Nix, Scat, Price Judkins, some of those names. The only thing is, your team is pretty bad, man. So, I mean, are you sending your 27 first when you do this? Because this team sucks, respectfully. I mean, who are you starting if you do this? You're starting Nix, Dart, let's say Scat, Judkins, Tate, Bernard maybe as wide receiver too. At tight end, we'll start Kincaid. And dude, in a start 12, you have to start 5 more names after I just named that very mid starting lineup. You also have to start 5 more names. Are those 5 names Price, Dobbins, White, Chris Bell? Like, he says, I have 527 first and 227 seconds currently. I don't know why in the trade screen it doesn't show that. Okay. So this is not your first then. Is that right, Wyatt? If this is just someone else's random first, okay, it's not your first. Then I am pretty confidently going to go Jackson Dart there. I think that's a great move. You're moving some of your, your stock from one singular class to a player. Obviously, Dart has risk on his own, but I'm fine with that move. I think we would all be willing to send a 27 first for what is a 3rd round pick in ADP. And even if you want to flip Dart, to a different asset, if you don't believe in him, I still think that from a value perspective, that's a hard trade to turn down with the circumstances. Appreciate you. Thanks for asking the question. All right, Keith. Let me know if you're in the chat with me, Keith. Frog Eye Stanners is the team name, and I don't know if there's something behind that I don't understand. There might be some inside joke or league theme. This is Superflex Start 10. You're ranked 2nd in this league. So I'm going to imagine we've got a good squad here. There's no tight end premium. And let's have a look. So we've got Superflex, right? Yeah, Superflex Start 10. We've got some great players here. Jaden Daniels is going to be one of your untouchables. You don't want to move him. As far as holds on this team, Luther Burden is a really strong hold. I feel like Travion Henderson is a strong hold. He's got plenty of risk, but the upside is still so tantalizing to me. I like Ricky Pearsall as a hold. And let's also add like Eli Raridon. Players that you could drop if you wanted to fill up some space here. I have no problem dropping names like Jahan Dotson, Savion Williams, Curtis Rauch. Now, on the waiver wire, there's not really anyone that's too intriguing to me, so I wouldn't be too bothered if you don't want to drop those names. Okay, so in a start 10, you are starting Daniels, Purdy with Goff on the bench. That's awesome. Taylor, Henderson, Lamb, Rice, Loveland. And then you're flexing 3 names, which would be Burden, let's say Godwin, Harvey. Man, I hate to say it, but Daniels might be someone I'm looking to trade on this team. Or Purdy. I think we could use a quarterback downgrade to improve the depth on this team. But you got all your future firsts. Yeah, right now I probably would feel comfortable giving you like a sleeper tag. I don't think you're a favorite in your league by any means, but like there's a couple moves that you can make where in the right scenario you could be a strong contender. I'm gonna put you at a B flat overall team grade. Let's explore, and I'd hate to move Purdy because here's the hard part. I think Purdy and Daniels are both really underrated right now. But at the same time, you could afford a tear down from a roster construction perspective. You could really use like another running back or wide receiver there. If we were to go from like Purdy, I'm thinking like a Baker Mayfield. So what could we get on top of like Baker Mayfield plus what? That's the question here. You know, would that net you a Saquon? Would that net you a Devonta Smith? Saquon Barkley? I like that return a lot for you. We said Devonta Smith. Obviously, if you think you can shoot higher and get like a Cam Scatterboo, sure. Or a Lab McConkey or an A.J. Brown. I don't think that's probably going to be possible. That's why I started off lower with Saquon and Devonta. But that's going to give you a much better lineup. You can afford to downgrade at quarterback there. Tyler Shuck is another name I would love to do a move like this with. So Tyler Shuck plus like a Breece Hall would be really ideal for you. Assuming that's not possible, he also had he had Kyron Williams. Yeah, I think that's probably more reasonable. And in some of these trades, like you could even try and send. You've got a 27 second. I'm not opposed to like adding a 27 second in some of these deals if you had to, and getting back like a third or something, you know, just so you know where my flexibility lies. If not Kyron, the problem is you're not going to get one of those top 3 receivers, so I don't see how a deal happens. You could ask for like a 27 first from them and then use that 27 first to fill out the rest of your roster. But yeah, I don't see how a deal happens outside of those names there. The name I'm really thinking about is Kyler Murray, though. If we can find where Kyler Murray is. Stafford? Would you do like a Stafford? Man. I really don't hate like Matthew Stafford plus. The thing is, I don't think you get Mecca Buka as a plus. Maybe Nico Collins. If you were to like add a second and send back a third or something. Could you do that for Egbuka? Probably not, but you know, that's kind of sneaky one I like. Who has Kyler, man? Here we go. Kyler Shmurry. Ooh, this is going to be tough to equivalent to get equivalent value here. Kyler Murray plus Jalen Waddle is not the worst trade in the world. I'm not obsessed with it. I don't know how you add on to this trade, though. Like, can you ask for a 27 second as well? Ugh, that's just not really that appealing. I'd rather do it this route where you get a 27 first and you send a 27 second. But that's probably asking for too much. That's why I said it's going to be hard to... It's not the perfect trade partner for you. But I think Kyler's a perfect piece here. Would I go like Stroud... I don't hate like a Stroud Zay Flowers, actually. I like that a lot. That's a fun one. Stroud you don't have to rely on there because of the depth that you got at quarterback anyway. Those would be the main moves I would try. The alternative here is if you can't move Purdy, then you could look at moving Daniels. But again, I think Daniels is underrated right now. I think he's undervalued. So that's why I find it hard to tear off of him when I already feel like he's disrespected a little bit. in some Dynasty leagues. So that would probably be the route I'd try to go, my friend. Good team though. I think you're close. I mean, if you're able to pull off one of these trades, you probably move from like a sleeper to a contender in my pathways. But I appreciate you big time, my dude. Thanks for letting me look at the squad. We got a trade question here, and then we're going to go to AP3's team review. If you're here, AP3, let me know. Sets in a super flex 12-team start 11 big league with a tight end premium. Ward Tyson Williams for Drake May. Okay, I have been team sell Drake May most of this offseason, but I don't know how you don't accept this trade. I love Williams and Hurst, but they're not making a big impact on this trade. I mean, what is Cam Ward valued at right now in the 26 class equivalent? Like the 107 maybe? Are you really not going to pay the 107 and the 104 for Drake May? This would be... if this was Drake May's price in most leagues, I'd buy him everywhere. That's pretty affordable. Okay, potentially the last review of the day. AP3, let me know if you're in the building, my friend. Okay, team name is Polar Bears. By the way, what do we think about the Indiana Bears? It's kind of frustrating. I'm not even a Bears guy. I'm not from Chicago, not from any of it, but I wish they would stay in Chicago. We've got a one quarterback start 8, so a small lineup here, but it is a 12-teamer. Let's have a look. He says, "What's up, Zach? Looking for some advice on which direction to take this team. Love the capital, and I have wide receivers, just don't know whether or not to cash in on some picks and go for it this year or gear up for the 27 class." Let's have a look, man. So I guess you haven't done your rookie draft yet. Let's pull out the war room here. Let's see if can I pull up the war room right now? Okay, yes, we can pull up the war room. This would be fun. I don't get many teams anymore that haven't had their rookie draft yet. Okay, so right now we've got some really great players on this team, like Drake May. That's definitely one of those untouchables. He would be your only untouchable, actually. You got good players, though, like Luther Burden is a really strong hold on this team. Emeka Egbuka, want to build around those two guys. Jordan Addison, I think, is a little bit undervalued. Terrence Ferguson, I don't want to give up on just yet. Players that you could drop if you needed to: Brashard Smith. If you had to drop players, Evan Ingram, Pat Fryermuth, you could. There's a lot of waiver wire players that are nice, like Chikakonkwo, Tank Bigsby, Jordan James, Pat Bryant, Malik Willis, but you've got enough quarterback depth there. But some nice waiver wire options. Okay, so right now it's only a start 8. So you're starting Drake May, Walker. There's no real RB2 that you have. Then Egbuka, Burden, no tight end that you've really got there. And then we are flexing Smith and Williams. Yeah, you're kind of middling, man. You're kind of middle of the pack here. But you've got some decent draft capital to fill out this roster. Okay. Yeah, this is an interesting team. I'm probably going to lean sleeper tag again, just like we had for the last team. So you're probably a sleeper, but I think you're more of like a B- than a B. What I would say is your ceiling this year could be determined by the 2026 rookie class. Let's jump into those picks. So you're going to add Carnell Tate. And then at the 106, I imagine Jadarian Price is not going to be available, but we might look to trade up to secure him. At the 108, I doubt Concepcion's available anymore, but Concepcion, you could also afford to add like a Kenyon Sadiq to this team, given your need at tight end. And then I guess Omar Cooper is the only other option there. Beyond that, it is get your guy land. Nobody knows what will happen beyond this point, right? Now, if you want to get more competitive this year, you could try and trade that 106. There's so many running backs I'd be willing to trade that 106 for, like Javonte Williams, Saquon Barkley if you want to really go all in, Cam Scattaboo, Chase Brown, right? I mean, there's a huge list. That's just a few of them. At the 108, I'd be willing to go out and take a shot on like a toot in there. Now, at the 102, I think you just take Tate. I think you take the best player available. But if you think Price is going to go before the 106, I'm going to come up with a game plan on how we can trade up for Price on the chalkboard. But I am going to post this war room over on the Discord, my friend. So if you want to find this war room, a game plan for that rookie draft, easy way to do that is simply by going to our Discord, then going to the war room tab. And in the war room tab, you'll be able to download you'll be able to download the, geez, someone help me. The war room, duh. Come on, Zach. Okay. So if we were to try to move up and acquire Jadarian Price, who has the 105? Okay. First off, could we do something simple like the 106 plus Wan'Dale Robinson for the 105, or wherever you think Jadarian Price is going to end up? If not Wan'Dale Robinson, can you use the 108, get Price plus plus the 205, as a counter. Oh, wait, you've got the 205. Sorry. He's got the 305. I mean, could you get their 27 second? I'd be willing to do something like that. Or even like Ricky Pearsall. Now, let's say we're trying to move up to the 104, maybe. Who has the 104? Okay. This could work. So I would do something simple like the 106 plus the 108 for the 104 plus their 204. That's pretty simple. And that just secures you an RB2. It lets you be flexible this year. If Price outperforms his ADP and, May, Lawrence, Walker are healthy, you have a chance to make the playoffs there. Overall, I would play this pretty cool. If by like week 6 you're not a clear contender, like you can't make the playoffs, if you start off 2-4 or even like 3-9 or something, then that's when you could look to sell like Kenneth Walker for multiple first round picks, Devonta Smith for a good first, Jameson, and then you can kind of tear it down to its core a little bit more. But right now, I think I'm probably aiming to move up and grab a Jadarian Price. We had a lot of other trade ideas in your war room as well, so hopefully those are helpful. If you wanted to go more towards an all-in move, you can add Tate. then you can trade that 106 straight up for one of those running backs like Javonte or Saquon, Scattaboo, Chase Brown. Hey, in a great world, maybe Jadarian Price is already there at the 108. You would know that better than me, though. But appreciate you big time, my friend. Thanks for letting me look at the squad, and you will get your playbook in the next 3 to 4 business days. If you're in the chat, I don't see you in the chat, but if you are, let me know, and I'd be happy to answer any final questions here before I log off for the day. But appreciate all of y'all big time showing me some love today. If you have any suggestions, like Jack, you can put that suggestion in the site recommendations over on Discord. I'm probably not going to be able to make any calls on that. But guys, thanks so much for hanging out. Hey, a couple things I need to let you know. First off, let me just get some latest figures here. Okay, first off, this time next week, we will be drafting in the Kronos League. There are 5 spots remaining. Whoever becomes a promo code LAND annual Mother Flocker member, brand new member, gets a guaranteed spot. So keep that in mind if you want to fill some of those spots. We also have the Ryan Leaf League, which is a best ball draft that will be happening on the Fantasyland Football channel here this week. Not tomorrow, but the day after. If you haven't watched my latest video on the Fantasyland Football channel, I would highly encourage you to go watch it. I go through NFL trends over the last 3 or 4 years and how they could be potentially impacting fantasy football and things like running backs versus wide receiver consistency. So definitely go check it out. But appreciate y'all being here, hanging out, and I'll see you in the next stream. Nothing but love.